Welcome back to Week 9 of the GoGamecocks.com preview show. South Carolina is 6-2, 4-2 in the SEC East. Right back in the SEC East race after a, at one point, improbable win over Missouri, the number 5 team in the country. Connor Shaw leads a big comeback. Now you move on to Mississippi State with a whole lot of options left out there for you. David, look back. What do you take away from the Missouri game?
Just Connor Shaw. I mean, obviously the kid is just not of this earth. Playing sick, playing on a bad knee, playing with a busted shoulder as we've seen before, playing on a bad foot as we've seen before. I mean, I can't disagree that he was the sole reason they won that game. I mean, he was the one guy that led them to that. Yeah, Missouri, kind of threw away some opportunities, but with Connor Shaw, it kind of gets, I guess, the vigor and the excitement back in USC's program. They can start thinking ahead to what is still on the table for them, that being the SEC East Championship and a very special season. And they just got to keep handling their business because they know that now they're right back in this thing no matter how they got there.
Right, and their business, I think, is the key point there. South Carolina, to maintain any realistic shot, needs to win out, and then you need some other things to happen. Georgia's got to lose one more, which is very possible with Florida and Auburn still on the schedule.
Right.
I don't know if you're with me. There's so many things out there, I'm not sure we need to worry too much about them at this moment.
I don't really think so, Josh. I mean, the simplest solution is for Georgia to lose and for Missouri to lose, and that hands South Carolina the title as long as they win out.
Right.
But who knows if that's going to happen. The main thing South Carolina has to concentrate on is just taking care of their business, which is beating Mississippi State, beating Florida, and then seeing where the chips are.
The Bulldogs almost always come in with a big, strong offensive line. Gabe Jackson this year. They may play a couple of quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, a guy who can move around a little bit. Tyler Russell, who was supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC coming into this year, hasn't exactly worked out. Dan Mullen still holding on to some of that old Florida Tim Tebow offense. You got to wonder if that guy's on the hot seat, going to have to win a game like Saturday's game to save his job. But I think it's more about what South Carolina does and the way that they play, which I think we saw against Missouri. South Carolina plays poorly. They can be shut out for 3 quarters. They play well. They can score 5 straight down the stretch.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Josh. They still scored 27 points despite being shut out for the first 3 quarters. And, this is an offense that has averaged over 30 points a game. You have to wonder just how much of a mental effect it took when Mike Davis fumbled twice, especially once on the 2-yard line. You think, that's the most consistent source of the offense, and he's obviously not in it today. But they ended up winning the game. So now you come back home, and you think Davis should be back to normal. Shaw, kind of ailing right now, but you think that he's going to play. You get those receivers turned loose, and you can beat a very underwhelming Mississippi State squad. A lot of these guys watched that Mississippi State-Kentucky game last Thursday, and basically if Kentucky just, had a little bit better of a chance at quarterback, they could have won that game because Dan Mullen really made a bad call in the 4th quarter, and it almost ended up costing them. But Mississippi State, they know they got a chance to win just like anybody else does, and they're going to come in here and try to pull the upset.
And Steve Spurrier talked a lot on Tuesday about how he doesn't seem real happy with the way his team has played. Too much sloppy, nowhere near whatever 100% for this team is. I'm not sure we've seen more than about 70% of that.
Right.
And I think for South Carolina, that's the thing that they've got to get through, to get over the sloppiness, to get over the fumbles, to get over the penalties that put you in 1st and 15 or turn a 3rd and 9 to a 3rd and 4. That's the thing that this team has got to do better to give itself a chance to win the East, a chance to beat Clemson, a chance to compete if you win the SEC East and get to Atlanta. You want to take this one first?
It's kind of difficult to do, Josh. I mean, we both have been kind of taking the brunt of the predictions lately. I know I've missed my last 3. But really, this is just not a very good Mississippi State team. Right. And despite USC's struggles, despite some of the nagging injuries that are still on, specifically Connor Shaw, Cody Waldrop, Brandon Wilds might get a chance to play this weekend, but you don't really know because you do have the bye week next week. Why not just sit him down and have him healthy for the Florida game? And then, Ronald Patrick kind of limping around. Mike Davis kind of limping around as well. So despite all that, Mississippi State's just not a very good team. It is at home. It's a noon game. I think USC will be all fired up to come out and try to get this thing done so then they can go back and scoreboard watch and see where they will be after Saturday. I think South Carolina wins. I'm going to go with 32-20. I think that it could be a little bit closer than that just because South Carolina has traditionally not put away these teams that they're really supposed to romp over, but I think it's a good, comfortable 2-possession win.
I think this is a South Carolina win as well. What I want to see, is it a 40-20 or is it a 25-24? This is a team that's been on a roller coaster ride all year. For the last several years, it's had trouble following up a big win with an impressive performance. This is a team that should be on a real emotional high after one of the biggest comebacks in school history last week. Will they keep going up, or will that roller coaster then turn around and come back down? Either way, I agree with you, this is a victory. It's just a matter of, do South Carolina fans have to sit on the edge of their seat like they did last week, or can they, by the third quarter, start flipping channels and see what else is going on in the rest of the country? I think that this South Carolina team is going to launch a little bit off of that big win. I think that they win this game something like 42-18. I think that this is a big win. I think that they keep this momentum going. I think that they do play a little bit closer to that 100% than they have thus far. We'll see. We'll have all the coverage for you Saturday and the rest of this week at GoGamecocks.com.
See you at Saturday and see you for basketball.